right, guys. So I wanted to do a quick video just to give you some quick tips and tricks going forward into your first week of the challenge. So the big thing, okay, the big thing that you want to do is stick to the list, okay? And that's going to be a theme that you're going to hear throughout the challenge is stick to the list. And the reason we say that is because the list is designed to be best choice foods, right? So if you stall out or you're not losing weight or inches or body fat, the first thing your coach is going to ask you is, are you sticking to the list? And be honest with yourself. Really, truly be honest. If it's literally not written on the list, it's not optimal. Okay, so can you deviate from the list? Yes, but it's not best choices. So in our challenge program, we guarantee you results as long as you're sticking to the list, right? Like if you're sticking to the list, you're doing your workouts, you're hitting your macros, you're going to get results. Period. End of story. It happens every time. It's never not happened. So make sure that you're sticking to the list, and you're going to do great. The biggest problem that a lot of people have is they get overwhelmed because they start trying to add in foods that aren't there. So really make sure you're doing that. Now, with that being said, when we say stick to the list, the other reason we say that is because what you're going to notice very quickly, and someone pointed it out on Facebook today, is when we're counting direct macros, anything that's under the list of proteins, we're only counting the protein in that. Anything that's only under the list of fat, we're only counting the fat in that. And everything under the carbs list, we're only counting the carbs. So if there's more nutrients in the food that you're eating, but it's on the carb list, we ignore everything else except for that carb amount. Okay? Now, with that being said, same thing. If you look at the back of peanut butter is kind of my favorite example ever. And the reason it's my favorite example is because, again, peanut butter has protein, carbs, and fat in it, right? But because it's 70% fat, we only count the fat in it. So when we say that, let's say you're doing low carb or no carb, okay, are you still going to be eating carbohydrates? Yes, they're just indirect and they don't count, right? So that's what we mean by that is if you're sticking to the list, the only stat that list is under, so like chicken, it's under the protein list. I don't care what else chicken has in it. I am only counting the protein. If I'm doing the carbs list, if rice is on the carbs list, I'm not counting anything else that's in rice outside of the carbs. So make sure you're sticking to that list when you're doing your meal plan. Don't overthink that. Just stick to the list. Be boring. Be monotonous. Keep it super simple that first week, and I promise you, you're going to have great results. Now, second and most importantly is trust the process. The biggest thing that people are going to run into the first week is how much food you're eating. Okay, you're going to be eating more food than you probably ever have. Now, the reason you're doing that is two reasons. One is because when we eliminate crappy food and high caloric food, and we switch to nutrient-rich and clean, healthy foods, we can eat a lot more clean, healthy foods to get our calories to where we need them to be and get our macros where we need them to be. Okay, so you're going to feel like you're eating more, but in actuality, your caloric intake is going to be relatively average. Okay, you're not overeating by any stretch of the imagination. With that being said, make sure that you're doing your best to hit your macros. So if you're having a really rough time getting all your food in, shakes are going to be your best friend, right? You can make your shakes a little bit bigger and do those. Remember, only half your meals in shakes. So if you're doing 4 meals a day, you can have 2 shakes. That means you only have to eat 2 whole food meals. Same thing if you're doing 6 meals, 3 shakes, right? That's half and half. That's what you should be going for if you're having trouble eating foods. Another big tip for you is if you're really having trouble getting all the foods down, try to switch to like liquid fats. So a lot of people, they're like, oh, well, I'm eating cheese and I'm eating avocado and I'm eating all these filling fats, right? But if you switch to like olive oil, coconut oil, stuff like that, 1 tablespoon of olive oil, if I remember correctly off the top of my head, is like 14 grams of fat. So it's super easy, and you just drizzle that on your protein, and you're good to go. And it makes it real easy for you. The other thing I'm going to tell you, and this is the last thing I want to tell you, because week 1 is it's okay to mess up. You are allowed to make mistakes. The coolest thing is when you make a mistake, you really have 2 options at that point. You can quit and give up and go home and cry and say that this just isn't for me and I'm not meant to do this. I screwed up. It's all over. Or you can be excited about it. right? Because if we're not making mistakes and we're not messing up, it means we're doing something that we're comfortable with. This is something that most of you probably are not comfortable doing. You've probably never done this before. So you're going to mess up. Everybody makes mistakes, and that's okay. The point is do you learn from that mistake? Do you dust yourself off and get back up and keep going and say, hey, I messed that up, but you know what? I learned something new, and that information I've got locked away in my head now, and I'm only going to move forward. And that's the mentality we want. So just understand that it's okay to make a mistake. It's okay to mess up. You are not going to throw away all your results if you screw something up, right? Just learn from it and move on. If you screw up, get back up and keep going. Dust yourself off. Don't let it ruin your weekend, ruin your day, ruin the rest of your diet. Get back on the horse, get back to your macros, and do your very, very best. And I promise you, you're going to do great, and you're going to learn a ton across the way. So don't worry if you mess up. Keep it really simple. Stick to the list. Those are my big tips for you going into this weekend. I can't wait for Monday to meet all of you and to meet some of you guys from the other locations. I really hope that you're amped up and ready to go. I know that we're pumped up about it as your trainers. So let's really focus on doing the best we can. Ask questions. Ask. There's no dumb question. We will help you every step of the way. Let's have a great weekend. Let's get set up for success.